Hello and welcome to Chats con Sabor. I am Yvette, one of your hosts for the podcast. I wanted to come on here and kind of explain the audio situation on this episode that you're about to watch. I'm taking full responsibility for it. I didn't press a button. I'm the one that normally sets up for our recordings, and I have a mental checklist that I go off of. And this time, I think I was a little bit excited because we have a special guest on this episode, and I forgot to click the button to choose this microphone. So anyway, the audio is a little off. It's not crystal clear. You can still hear our voices, obviously, but it's just not like the best quality audio. I do want to ask that you extend us some grace, or extend me some grace, because we're so new to the podcast world. Like, we are so new. And we're definitely not pros by any stretch of the imagination. We're kind of taking it as it comes, or just kind of rolling with the punches. We are trying our best to produce good quality shows for you guys. So yeah, I felt in doing the editing tonight, I felt that I needed to make sure that I came on and just added this little clip to the beginning of the episode so that you know that we know, or that I'm aware, that the audio isn't the greatest. Again, you can still hear our voices and stuff. It's not like you're not going to be able to understand what we're saying. It's just the quality is not where I would like it to be. But anyway, totally my fault. I take full responsibility for it because, like I said, I am the one that sets everything up. But I think we're improving. At least I hope that we're improving, as the episodes go on. We're learning, of course. And I do invite, if you have any suggestions or helpful tips for us, I invite you to please leave it in the comments, either on this video or any of our other ones. Just know that we're pretty aware of the sound and, things like that. We're trying to adjust as we go. As I said, I guess I could have asked to re-record, but I felt that the conversation flowed so well that if we tried to recreate it, then I feel like we would have lost the authenticity of the conversation. So I didn't really want to ask the girls to do that, nor our special guest, because it wasn't anybody else's fault but mine. So I wasn't going to do that to them. Instead, I decided to come on it and just explain to you all before you listen. But I do want to say thank you and extend our utmost gratitude for your support, your positive feedback. And of course, please, share us with your friends and family. We love what we're doing. And from the feedback that I've gotten so far, I feel that, our audience loves what we're doing as well. So, yeah, we're having fun, but these little glitches here and there, it happens, right? I love the fact that real, raw conversations and unscripted is what we know and what we pride ourselves on. So anyway, having said all that, enjoy this episode. We had a lot of fun recording it and talking about all the things that we talk about. It did go a little sideways, as most of our conversations go, but it was fun. We had a lot of fun, and I hope you enjoy it too. Hello and welcome back to Chats con Sabor. I am Yvette. I'm here with my two beautiful co-hosts, Linda and Joanna. And today we have a very special guest, my prima, my beautiful cousin, Kim. That's right.
I've been waiting so long.
We have been planning this for a while. We wanted to bring her on because today's topic is going to be, we're going to be talking about our ancestry, Hispanic and Latin roots. And my cousin happens to be a half-breed.
I'm getting 57.
She is. So, what I want to do today, though, we had talked about this in one of our other episodes,
where we kind of wanted to like reintroduce ourselves, and I feel like this episode is perfect for that. So, Linda, will you start us off? Just kind of say like your background.
Okay. I'm from Venezuela, even though I'm 25% Colombian. My grandparents were my dad's side. They're Colombian. They're actually indigenous from Colombia, so Indian Colombian. Pretty from the frontier, Colombia, Venezuela. But anyways, born and raised over there. Moved to the States. At age 13. I moved to Miami, and I just moved to Georgia 4 years ago. So
33 years old.
33. Oh yeah.
Just turned 33.
Oh.
So young one. Kim?
I didn't know that you were Colombian, by the way.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I never knew that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Kim. I'm 48. Oh, God. Those years are creeping up. Okay, 48. Born in Texas, and my father is from Florida. He's just interesting enough, Ancestry DNA says he's from Britain, like a lot of British, but he's, American.
Mm-hmm.
And then my mom is, like your mom, from Chihuahua, Mexico. So, yeah.
Nice. And, anyways, go ahead. Sorry. I was going to spit out, but then I'm like, wait, I have to say who I am too. Sorry. I was getting ahead of myself.
Hi, I'm Joanna, and my family roots are from Puerto Rico. And I was born here in the States. My parents are still in Puerto Rico right now. I am 49 years old and will be 50 this December.
Joining our 50 club. Or my 50 club, I guess.
Hey, we're catching up.
I know.
Well, I'll be in our 50 era.
Yeah, exactly.
50.
Yeah. 50. Yep, that's my little thing. 50. I said it today, right?
You did say it
We were
today.
talking today, and I said, it's cup 50. So I knew that. I said at the beginning. I was born in California, but raised in Texas, and then moved back to California after I had my first child, my oldest, my son, and spent most of my adult life in California, and moved around a lot. But actually, my mom was actually born in Texas. I think my mom was the first one of the siblings.
I think you're right.
Yeah, my mom was the first one to be born here in the States. She was born in Texas. But all her siblings were born either in Chihuahua or in Juarez. So from my grandfather's side, we're full-blooded Mexican.
Mm-hmm.
And on my grandmother's side, her parents, so our great-grandparents, came over or went to Mexico from Spain. So we're half-breeds, Mexican and Spanish.
I told you, Heinz 57.
She's got a lot more. Yeah. So when you said that about your dad, though, I was going to say, funny enough, come to find out, like just recently, but my grandfather on my biological father's side was white. He's a white man.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice man. You look like me.
Married to a Mexican woman, yes. super tall man. And then also our great grandfather was fairly tall. I mean, taller than most Mexican men.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. I say that's where I get my height from.
What height?
I was waiting for that.
It's got more height than us.
Yeah, that is true. She used the tallest one. How much? I was gonna say, how much taller?
I'm like an inch taller than you. It's fine. Hey, I take it.
I feel like that's a song. Just a little bit taller.
Yeah, I wish I was a little bit taller.
And a baller.
Okay, so anyway, thanks, ladies, for reintroducing yourselves. I want to have Kim start us off first, and just talk about being a half breed and what, like growing up and stuff, how, I don't want to say it affected you, but just your experiences growing up as both, with the two different cultures.
Well, I would say that I was thinking about this the other day. There was pros and cons. Obviously, I don't speak full Spanish. I didn't get to spend as much time with my Spanish side of the family, and I grew up in a predominantly white or Caucasian, if you will, neighborhood, and so English was the main language. I didn't hear a lot of Spanish at home unless you guys came to visit.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, I heard it. And, of course, with Grandma and Grandpa only knowing Spanish, I had to learn some words to be able to talk to them. So con-wise, I wish that I would have picked up more Spanish. I'm just going to say that right now out loud, and I'm going to work on it so I can talk to you ladies. And but I can hear you, and I can understand you. So don't do that. But as far as growing up, I mean, there was times where I felt my mom would say that when we were kids, when we were stroller age, that people would always ask her, hey, what beautiful children. I bet the mother's happy. And I think that kind of resonated with me, even though I didn't know, like I can't remember that happening.
Right.
And I must have felt it because I think I probably asked my mom if I was adopted until I was 15 years old. Like, because I didn't look like her. I didn't have any of her looks. I looked like my dad, just him. So I was like, am I adopted? Please. Like, all children, please. Are they rich? You know. Is there a warehouse? Yeah. Is there like a castle somewhere like long? Okay, princess. But no, I guess I always thought I was adopted, and I think it had to do with that memory that I didn't even know had it. So I don't think people are aware of when they say things how children hear them, and they don't even realize they're hearing them.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, I think that pro and con wise, I grew up mainly in the white community. I knew I was Hispanic, but Hispanics didn't. I don't want to say didn't accept me. That's not the right word because there wasn't a lot of Hispanics where I lived. So there's that. But when I did go around Hispanics, because I didn't speak Spanish, I wasn't really accepted, I guess, if you will. Or they looked down on me because my mom didn't teach me Spanish. So, I don't know if it's pros and cons. But I enjoyed the way I grew up. I'm happy. I mean, I grew up like a country girl, and I'm really glad that they did that for me. But I would have liked to have a little bit more Latin side, except for that every Christmas we would go home. In the summers, you guys would come visit. So I did get to feel that culture, but not be submerged into it until we moved to Florida. And then it was game over because it was a bunch of Hispanics, like all different types of Hispanics. That was like a culture shock. Yeah. Like, wait, I only know Mexicans. I know. Y'all are talking languages I don't even understand.
You want to know something funny? In Miami, the population of Mexicans is so little that when I moved here to Georgia, and then all of a sudden and then again I work in landscaping, right? So most of my guys are Mexicans. I'm like, whoa, what's happening now? I appreciate the authentic Mexican food that now is not so authentic after I tried Yvette's Mexican food. But anyways.
Different parts and different ones.
Yeah. No, but you brought some very interesting point because as mom, both of my boys, they don't speak Spanish. Mm-hmm. Like I've tried, I talk to them in Spanish. So I would think that once they grow up, they get older, like they're gonna say, "Oh, I understand," because my mom doesn't stop talking to me in Spanish, right? But they don't speak it, right? Mm-hmm. But the one thing that actually now you got my wheels turning is about that comment because Elisha, he not anymore, but when he was a baby, actually, I'll pull it up so I can show you. He looked completely white, and I got asked, "Is he your baby?" Number one, and number two, I personally want him a white boy because he looked like a white boy. Yeah. Yeah. So now I wonder if those little comments are gonna affect him in the future. Wait, who knows, right? But you brought, like I said, you got my wheels turning.
Yeah. Well, at least here there's more culture. He's submerged. There's more. Where I was at, I mean, Linda, there was maybe 2 African American people, and everybody else was white. There was no Spanish people where I lived, and it was a really rural town. Rural is the right word, right? I was in the country. So, the cultural part was
the environment made a big difference. Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I don't know. I do think that we need to pay attention to what we say to kids for sure.
Oh yes. Oh.
And I'm sure it hurt my mom.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it hurt her, but she took it with stride. I saw things done to her that I probably would have not seen if we had grown up in a little bit more of a cultural area. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it taught me a lot at a young age about people and how they perceive other people. Mm-hmm. And interesting that you said that because I was talking to a client the other day, and she's African American, and her parents were she's the youngest of like a big family, and her dad was part of the not part of the Civil War, but in the civil rights movement. He was like young for that, so he had a lot of memories. But anyways, long story short, she was talking to me about. I said, yeah, we're kind of breeding out our history, if you will.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to explain, not in a bad way, but we're kind of like, we need to talk about it. We need to teach them. We need to, I want to learn more about my mom's history because I don't want to forget it. I want my niece to know it. I want my nephew to know it. So, because we are intermixing more, and we are,
Yeah.
and it's good.
We're becoming more and more of a melting pot.
Yeah.
Slowly.
Yeah.
Come on, white boy.
Oh my gosh, he did look white. Oh, that's so cute.
You have to show the
Yeah,
audience.
you have to show the audience.
You can put it up there.
So cute.
I don't know if it can.
Maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but my youngest one, he looks
can't
completely
see it.
like a white boy.
It almost looks like he had red hair.
Oh, there. I don't know if you can kind of see it there.
But yeah. Well, he was super blonde,
Adorable.
reddish hair up to maybe a year ago. A year ago, he started getting dirty blonde, and then now it's just kind of brown. But yeah, but he.
So did you feel weird when people asked you if that was like? Did they ask you if you were his mom?
Well, when it happened a lot, when I would go to daycare and the teacher left early or something like that, and then they had somebody from another classroom that didn't know me, and I'll be picking him up, and they literally look around like, okay, let me look for the baby that looks like the mom. And they're like, oh, I don't know if she's on this, I'm like, I'm looking for Elisha, right? And obviously she's not fully aware of all the names. She goes, Elisha, and then, she looks around. I'm sure she knew he was Elijah.
Right.
But because she was expecting him to look like me, she looks around and she goes, maybe he's in the next door classroom. And I'm like, no, he's crawling right there. That was mine. And I always would joke, and I'm like, listen, if it wasn't because I pushed him out, and from there he came right here, and he never left, I would have thought there was a switch up.
Yeah. He did look white.
Yeah, I actually had something like that happen to me when Sean was younger because he was blonde, little square head. I mean, just like gringo. I mean, straight white boy. And we had a conference at his school, and Tony had walked in before me, and the principal was African American, which was surprising how this all ended up happening. But Tony walks in, and I'm behind Tony, and she shuts the door in my face. And she goes, wait, what's Tony's background? He's Italian. Okay. So
predominantly white or more of the darker?
He was olive, like an olive skin tone. But
so we can set the pace. So I'm envisioning it in my head right now.
But then picture, my mom is super white, green eyes, freckles, red hair, like. My mom is, she looks straight white girl until she opens her mouth. And you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But she goes to slam the door in my face, right? And I'm like, whoa. And she goes, and you are? I'm like, his mom. Sean's mom. And she's like, oh my God. She was like mortified.
Yeah.
I'm like,
he didn't look mixed enough.
No, he wasn't. Whereas Christian is more brown. He's more my color. So people are like, oh, I get it now with him. And he's half Mexican, half Puerto Rican. So.
Puerto Rican. Every time she says Puerto Rican, I think of that reel with the lady she puts on the wig. And she's like, I feel like I'm Puerto Rican.
With all the hair.
Every time she says that, that's the first thing that's why I say it.
How did you feel when you used to come visit? Because it had to be different for you too.
So, a little background on me. Obviously, I would go visit. She lived in a small town in Texas outside of Houston. And so I would go and I'd spend summers there, with her and my tia. And sometimes my grandparents would come, sometimes they wouldn't. My mom that was the first time I ever started flying, was to go visit her and spend the summers there. And so when I would go, for me, I never grew up, I think because where I grew up in El Paso, Texas, it was kind of like a melting pot. So I was, predominantly Mexican people, right? But there were white people, there were black people, there were Asians. Not very many Asians, but there were Asians there, So, yeah, so I was kind of like already used to it. So then when I would go visit her, I wasn't used to like the country boys or kids or whatever, you know. So when I would go visit her, that would kind of like, wow, like, you know. But no, I'm just like kidding. And then she would say, come on, let's go, we're going to go, you know, whatever. We'd go, I don't know if you remember, we used to go dig, like, for little crawdads and stuff. Yeah. Like, I mean, we used to do country stuff, you know. That's how I was introduced to it because of her and her brother, my cousin, her brother. So, I mean, that's the only reason why I was, you know, introduced to it, because back home, even though El Paso is a small town, it's actually like it's a big city with small town vibes. I mean, there's more than 1 million people in El Paso, but it's a big city, but small town values, small town vibes. You know what I mean? Sorry, my ear is like bothering, so I can hear I can hear myself only. Anyway, so fast forward to I'm about 16. How old was I? 16? Yeah, I was 16 years old. My mom got married and she moved to Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So I had to go and live with her, you know. I mean, she left me with my grandmother. She gave me the option of staying with my grandparents, so I did, so that I wouldn't have to leave the school that I was going to. But then the second semester of my junior year, I went and lived with her in Louisiana. So, man, talk about culture shock. Holy shit. You would think that I would be used to it because, again, I would go visit her and everything, you know, but in Baton Rouge, there were
a whole different type of culture.
Well, first of all, the graduating class, okay, that year, the seniors, I think we're probably about 40.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a small little school. There was only me and this chick, this exchange student from Spain. Her name was Blanca, I remember that. Real pretty girl. I mean, her and I like bonded like fast.
Fish out of the water. You're like, what?
Because
somebody.
But as white as I am, and as blanca as she was, you know, she switched her name. She was, you know, blue eyes, blonde hair, white skin. I was the odd man out because I went with my red hair. I had like brownish reddish hair, you know, my natural color is like brownish reddish when I was growing up. So brownish reddish hair, I'm there, and then I've got, you know, these like avocado eyes, and then kind of like olive skin, you know, compared to everybody else, right? And definitely compared to her. Then you got all the white people, but then it was predominantly black people at that school. So the black guys, of course, always have loved me. I mean, even my high school in El Paso, always.
Look at the curves, girl.
So the black guys always loved me, but the black girls never did. And so it was the same issues that I was dealing with at my old high school because, you know, they, whatever. But so I kind of gravitated towards this chick Blanca, and then I made some other friends, and I was in love with this white guy. I always like white boys. So anyway, long story short, I have lived in different places, and so I was exposed to different things as well, you know, culture shocks and things like that. Moving back to California after I had my son, obviously California, there's all, you know,
melting pot
again.
A little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything. So, and then, you know, with my ex being in the military and stuff, I mean, we were just exposed to, you know, all kinds of different people and stuff. So with different backgrounds and everything. So, I don't think I ever like walked around with a chip on my shoulder thinking I was different, even though maybe I knew that I was different and people treated me different, but I never like.
Did it make you feel less?
You didn't
feel less? Never. And I tried, you know, to like psychoanalyze myself and try to figure out like why was I so damn confident at such a young age? All I can say is maybe.
Only child.
Well, all I can think of is single mom. So she was pretty fucking awesome. I mean, worked her ass off and everything. Didn't let, you know, all these whatever, like speed bumps or whatever in life. Stop her, yeah. And then my grandmother too. She didn't speak English. She could understand a few words, whatever, but she didn't speak English. And she literally got around, like, and she was like the woman of the house. You know what I'm saying? Like, we never, my grandfather, yeah, sure, whatever, he would try because machismo, whatever. I mean, he was from Mexico, right? He would try to like kind of bring her down a level, but that woman was in charge of the house. Everybody knew it, and so did he, you know? So maybe
she learned well. Listen.
from the same gene.
I know, right? What do you think, Joe?
All right.
That's funny.
Abuelita, lucky. I'm telling you, abuelita, you guys have abuelita.
Oh,
100%.
definitely. Socorro Marin, yes, we have her. We have Marin for sure in us. That's why when she says, like, no, I'm all legged, I'm my dad, and this and that, and I'm like, nah, girl, like, I see it. I see it. And you know her mom, my tia, so yeah.
I am a good thing.
Yeah.
Her mom, Kim's mom's awesome.
I would say
awesome.
all of my tias
They
and
all
tios
are,
are awesome. I'm gonna brag a minute. I feel very blessed about our family. We have our issues like any family does, but we have some really good vibes and people in our life, and that helps us.
I really do.
I'm very, very happy about that. Like I hear stories, and I'm like, man, all my tias are awesome in their own way. Like your mom, single mom, what she did. She didn't get to party and do the things that my mom did because she was single and she had to, raise her child. But then, like, we have, my tia Martha. She's, the oldest. She has her own unique qualities that we all love. And then my tia Maggie, she's amazing. She's amazing. God rest her soul. And,
best things ever.
yeah.
We were just talking about it.
But every one of them brings something to the table. So.
Yeah.
I guess you're right. The abuelita is in all of it. Yeah.
We got a little taste of the familia for her birthday.
Oh, yeah.
And man, we had so much fun with them. So much fun. and they're so welcoming and just like, you're like automatically a part of them. It's awesome.
Listen, let me tell you, when my ex-husband and I were fighting for divorce and everything, he was like, does this mean like I can't talk to your family anymore? I'm like, they're my family. Like, we're getting divorced. Like, you're divorcing me and my family. Like, I'm talk about territory. I'm like,
I know. And Mike wanted to move to El Paso the first time he met our family.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
we're moving here. I'm like, no, we're not. No, I know they're great, but no, we're not moving here. You've been to El Paso? Babe, no. I like it to visit.
Yeah.
No, I like it out here.
It's a different lifestyle for sure.
Yeah.
For
And
everybody.
I was going to say, when you talked about El Paso and the melting pot, every time I went to El Paso, I never saw any of those other cultures.
That's great. But yes, you did when I took you to one.
Well, Juarez, different story. Yeah, this
Well, that's all the
takes you to
people
Juarez.
I mean, from El Paso, we would.
But
we were
for the most part, when I was in El Paso, it was around family, and we always went to a little like restaurants or bodegas that were there, that were all Spanish. So I never really saw the other. I knew there was an army base there, obviously, after one trip to Juarez, but I didn't know that. Like, it was primarily Mexican, and Mexican, because when you go to Florida, you just don't know until they start talking.
Yeah.
Like whether they're Cuban or Puerto Rican or Nicaraguan or I don't know all the different dialects. So it was definitely that was a culture shock for me because I didn't know the difference. And that school was different too. That was in middle school for when I moved, and there I didn't fit in with the Spanish girls. I fit in good with the white girls, but then I felt bad for the Spanish girls because there was a lot of I hate to use the word racism, but it's what it was.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of it there. It was, early, late 80s, early, late, I think it was 87, 88 when we moved to Florida. Yeah. And I feel like there was a lot of tension because there was a lot more Hispanics coming into Florida at that time. So there was some tension. Yeah. So of course I wanted to be friends with the Spanish girls because I felt comfortable. So I wasn't comfortable with people being like that because I didn't feel that in Texas. So, but I did make friends with the white girls, but there was a couple of times where it was kind of fun because I'd let them talk and I'd be like, well, I'm half Mexican. What? And then
they'd be like,
you are? To this day, people will meet my mom. Yeah. It happened to me at the restaurant, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago. We were some friends, and it was a long table, and there was a girl that I didn't really know very well there, and this is an adult. And, I would come in, mom comes in with me, and I'm introducing her, and this lady's like, I'm sorry, that's your mom? Are you adopted?
No. Oh
And I
my
just looked and I'm thinking,
God.
wow, still at almost 40-some years old, I still have this. Like, that's impressive.
It's the people that just don't have filters. That's what it is. They don't. They think about it and they're just like, whoa, wait, like it's. And they think it's okay just to say whatever it is they're gonna say.
What I have noticed with those people is that they're so in their circle.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they're even people that they haven't really traveled. Because even people that are close-minded in their circle, but they've been able to travel, then that opens their horizon and the way they view life and how they see things, and they're more reflective, I guess, and they don't say such rude comments.
Yeah.
So usually it's those
Well,
people.
I'm sure she didn't mean it
No,
rude,
no, of
right?
course not, but it feels that way.
It comes off that way.
Yeah.
People just need to, myself included, I do it too sometimes. I catch myself sometimes, like, oh.
I'm pretty good at filtering what I think and what my words and
It
stuff.
depends how much of this I've had.
Good point. Good point.
You and me both.
Yes.
Everybody. That's so funny. All right. Next little thing.
Well, we'll get there. Yes. You know what's something that was culture shocking to me coming from Miami, which
To hear?
yes,
From there.
to Georgia, from Miami
I
to
can't
Georgia,
wait to hear this.
which I will say this.
Because I can see this a lot.
Well, let me think before I say this. Yes, I went to a very mixed high school, obviously Miami, very mixed, and very, very dirty South, right? And me learning English as my second language, okay, which this school like evolved into so much because it wasn't until like a few years ago that I realized that saying that I have chinky eyes was inappropriate. But I was told, oh, you have chinky eyes. I'm like, what does that mean? Oh, your eyes are like a little bit like this, like almond shape. And I'm like, oh yeah, I got chinky eyes. And just a few years ago, I learned that. Anyway,
To be fair, there's a lot of things that we've learned lately.
yeah, true. Well, but I will say this. Growing up in high school in that environment, kind of like, I don't know, no, like the dialect that we use between our homies, or our friends, or whatever. I used to use the N word a lot. Oh, you're my N, right?
Yeah.
You're my, because that's what I grew up with. Again, we're the dirty South, and we're mixed, so we're not paying attention so much about racism because we're so mixed, it doesn't really exist. So then, with my close friends, I'll be like, right now, like instead of bitch, I was saying the N word because that's what we did in Miami. And then when I moved here, I was like, oh yeah, I can't say that. Even to like a close friend, like no, not Atlanta. And of course, that's thinking about it more. So at the KKK, all the different things right here. Like, why would I even? Right?
Well, you weren't raised with it, yeah.
But I was gonna say, but I wasn't raised with it. Yeah. The complete opposite. Within friends, within people that you had trust, that was your way of like, my dude. Like and that was then again, dirty South Miami, how we were raised. That to me, that was a little bit culture shocking. But in hindsight, it was more like self-awareness. Kind of like you were saying. Like I learned that I just shouldn't say that. Wrong. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, to your point, that makes a really good point to how people are kind of, I don't want to say closed-minded, that's not the right word, but we have these blinders on sometimes because we're used to certain things, and then all of a sudden you're in a new place. And I'm sure when Amsterdam was different for you, or when you traveled, because I didn't get to listen to the travel episode yet, but I'm almost there. If you guys aren't watching, you should. But I'm sure you also experienced different shocks in different places, because I think racism, I hate to use the word racism. I think that every culture, there's things that people don't like about other cultures, period. Like some Hispanics don't all get along, and there's like all these little things. I heard like maybe Caribbeans don't like Africans, and like all these little things are like Puerto Ricans and Mexicans for the longest time, or like my mom, she would always get like, I'm not Puerto Rican. Like, okay, or so I feel like they all have their within something. So yeah, that makes sense. The blinders, and then you come here, and then it's a whole different dynamic.
So funny you said that, because in Miami, when somebody would be like, "Are you Mexican?" We'd be like, "Mexican? Like, where do you see a Mexican here?"
Yeah. I met more Puerto Ricans and Cubans and Haitians in Florida did Mexicans.
And it's so
And Guatemalans.
Yeah, people always ask me, always. They nenever guess, and which is going to lead me. Good segue.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Thank you, Linda. Thank you. I'm always asked, "Are you Cuban? Are you Cuban?" They say, "I'm Cuban," and I'm like, "Cuban?" I'm like, maybe because I didn't grow up with my biological father, so I had to ask my mom 2 years ago. And I was like, "Mom, was my biological dad Cuban?" Because people always ask me. Always. They never guess that I'm Mexican. Never.
Me either.
Never. Like, it's everything else except for Mexican. So that brings me to this. I was going to tell a story about the guy that we were talking to at Diesel. Remember?
Oh yeah.
We went to one of our bars that we go to, and we were just there hanging out, the three of us. And this guy comes over. He's a black guy, but his dad is French, right? His dad was French. Yes, his dad was French, and his mom was Portuguese.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
No, but he was French, but he was from Africa.
the dad.
The dad.
Yes, yes. So he was his history was from Africa, but the dad was born in France, spoke French, lived up in Canada or somewhere? I forgot. Anyway, that's not
Probably, that makes sense.
the point being though that he was like, I want to guess what you are. He was, I know you guys are, Hispanic women, whatever. Like, I want to guess what you are, and I'm like, oh, this is gonna be good.
Hey. Did you get that on a drink or anything? Or
No, we didn't. We were just like, okay, go. So he was wrong about Joe. He said Joe looks more Mexican than anything. He said he was wrong about her. Yeah, he was saying everything else except for Puerto Rican. He called her, he called you Dominican. He called her everything else in the book. He was like, she looks more Mexican than you do. I was like, okay. Prima.
I'm a special prima now.
But he's the first person ever that has not said Cuban to me.
What did he say?
He said Mexican. And well, first he said Spaniard. He goes, you look Spanish. And I'm like, okay, I am. And I said, but wait, because here people say, oh, they're Spanish. Like, you're Spanish, you're Spanish, I'm Spanish. We're all Spanish because we're Hispanic or Latinos, whatever, So they always say, they use that word Spanish to like kind of collectively talk about
everybody. Like African.
Yeah. So he said, so I said, what do you mean Spanish? He goes, no, like from Spain. He goes, you look like, I've been to Spain. He lived in France and whatever. Like, he's like, I've been to Spain, he said, and you look like the people there. And I was like, how funny, I've been to Spain too, and I don't feel like I look like the people.
You look like the people there.
Yeah. He said, you look like the people there. I was like, okay. So I said, okay, that's half. So I'm only half Spanish. I said, so what's the other half? And then he was guessing like all these other things, and then he finally said Mexican. And I was like, hey, I'm like, first person to actually say.
I get both.
And I am. And then I told him, I said, hey, I go, most people think that I'm Cuban. I said, do you think I look Cuban? He's like, nah. He goes, you don't look Cuban. He's like, I know Cubans. He goes,
I tell you what though. Yeah. Once this is over, I have a friend. Her name is Jamile. You look like her, and she's Cuban, like Cuban, born in Cuba. She moved to Miami, when she was young, but Cuban.
I had a girl that I used to work with, a coworker, and she was Cuban, born in Cuba. Everything. Her mom was Cuban. Everything. And her husband was Cuban, so her kids are like, full-blooded Cuban, but born here in the States. But she's got green eyes, white skin, dark hair. And I was like, oh my God. And I said, do I look Cuban to you? And she looked at me, she's like, actually, she goes, yeah, you can probably pass for Cuban. And I was like, how funny. And then I told her, I'm telling you, everybody always thinks that I'm Cuban. If they don't know anything, about me or whatever. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing.
They always ask me if I am.
That was the first time ever someone has said that
that
I'm looking Mexican, because usually if they think that I'm African American or I'm biracial.
Right. I will see. I can see that.
I can see that too.
My English is so good.
Yeah.
They can't tell that I am Hispanic at all.
Right. Once you start speaking Spanish, you totally tell you're Puerto Rican.
Right.
Absolutely.
The way you roll you are.
Yeah. You have the dialect. So.
Yeah. Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah.
I thought you were Dominican when I first met you.
I've gotten that too.
He said that too.
Yeah, I thought Dominican, and then when you started talking Spanish, I was like, yeah, Puerto Rican makes so much sense.
Jersey. It's all.
Oh yeah, you can totally hear the Jersey.
Oh
accent.
yeah.
Yeah. Even though you sound like you've been here a while, like you have that like twang, you could totally still hear the Jersey
So do
accent.
you still think that you're considered a New Rican, or because I always thought New Rican was New York, Puerto Rican.
It's that whole area.
But is it the whole area?
That whole tri-state area.
And is that bad to say? Like, is that like culturally bad to say now? Because back in the 90s, early 90s, I've always heard people be like, "Yeah, I'm New Rican," and I'm like, "What's New Rican?" I don't know. And they're like, "Oh, I'm from New York, but I'm Puerto Rican." I'm like, oh, okay.
New York people take that personally.
Yeah.
Because to them, Jersey is like the South.
Yeah. I was gonna say like the stepchild, but
Yeah, like that's cool. I know she went there. I'm like the South, maybe. Like,
It's like El Paso. I say, I'm from Texas. What part? El Paso. Oh, that's not Texas. I'm like, yes, it is, bitch.
yes,
it is.
But what do you are?
most people say, I'll be honest, people usually can't guess what I'm from. Even Spanish people can't tell where I'm from because even my Spanish, I want to say here my Spanish has gotten a little more Venezuelan. It's because I got with my sister, so it kind of sticks to me, the accent and But living in Miami, depending who I'm with, actually when I talk to Joanna, I start talking Puerto Rican. I'm with a Dominican person, I start talking Dominican.
So you're fluid in most of that.
Yeah.
The melting pot that you have.
Somebody told me that I have musical ear or something like that, so I pick up on the singing of each dialect, so I'm able to do like they do.
That's cool.
Yeah. But it happens naturally. I don't do it on purpose. I don't do it to try to relate. I don't have it
around all those people.
It's also your ADHD because of your creative side. You might be skilled in music and you just don't know it. Because the vibrations of stuff,
and it's natural. It happens natural to me. So people can tell because depending who I'm talking to, my Spanish is different. And if I don't know where you're from, or like it has happened to me here, there's a lot of Americans that know Spanish, and they'll be like, "Oh, let me practice with you. And they have good Spanish. And then when I start talking Spanish, I'm like, "Wait, you don't have an accent. Like you have an accent, but it's not a real accent." And I'm like, "I know." I know.
I'm used to really
so people usually can't tell where I'm from. And as a matter of fact, even when I moved here, that I was working, to work, they'll look at me and they'll be like, "Where are you from? I'm like, where do you think I'm from?" And they're like, "I want to say you're Mexican because all I've met are Mexicans, but you don't look Mexican." And I'm like,
I think even when I met you too, I was like, really? Venezuela? Like, what? I thought you were going to say Colombian.
That's what I thought too originally, Colombian. But then I met some other Venezuelan, not just your sister, some other women. Yeah, you're definitely Venezuelan. Yeah, I can tell in the dialect too.
Yeah. Listen, I've gone over to her sister's house, and then when they start talking, and I'm pretty fluent. Like I know how to read, write, speak Spanish. I literally am looking at them like this, like.
That's how I felt in Argentina.
What? Slow down. I'm like, oh my God. Her and her sister speak very, very fast.
They have more Italian words than they have Spanish words.
In Argentina?
So every time they say something, I'd be like, I know what that means.
Yeah.
Why are you saying it? Like, that's not how we say it. And the guy even said, this Argentina guy said that when he goes to Mexico City, because I was feeling really like, oh man, I know my Spanish is bad, but jeez. Like, and he was like, no, when I go to Mexico City, they don't understand me, so it's okay. Like, you're feeling normal. And I'm like, okay, good, because like I was actually practicing for this trip. Like,
No, Argentina and Uruguay, they both have a similar accent, and it's tough. It's really tough. I think to me it wasn't too hard, but that's because in Venezuela, my mom's best friend was from Argentina. So growing up, I heard it. So I'm able to pick up, and a lot of the accents I guess that I'm able to pick up also comes from the novelas growing up. So like Mexican novelas, things like that.
Oh, I'm watching one right now that's really good. I'll tell you about it later.
Or a Colombian novelas, so some of those keywords or phrases that were not really from my country, I had to figure out what they meant because of the show that I was watching.
Makes sense.
Yeah. But what I was going to say about Cubans is that, and talking about racism, kind of tying it all together, one thing that, and this is just my personal perspective, right? within Cubans, well, within Hispanics, right? There's racism. It is what it is.
Yeah, I hate the word because it's so blanketed.
No, but that's what it is.
That's what it is. It is what it is. Mm-hmm.
And I'll put a pin in it for just a second. Just the way that I was raised, okay? The way that I was raised, even though I did not ever think there was anything wrong with it. My mom used to tell me, make sure you better the race. And that came from generations. What did better the race mean? That you marry a white person, so then your race is better. And that's just me, my personal life, what I was told growing up, okay? From my Hispanic book. So in what I was able to notice in Miami was in the Cuban community, the white stayed with the white, the black stayed with the black, and there's very little mix. So that's why when they look at you, it's easy to be like, oh, you're Cuban, because Cuban, if you're white, you look very white in the Cuban community.
Yeah, it's true.
You want to hear something funny? Talk about culture shock. So I have a funny story for you guys. So my dad, I love this story. I know, I do too. My dad, you will marry your race.
Oh
wow. Had to be Boricua, nobody else, okay? My first boyfriend was African American.
How do you take that?
Oh my
How
goodness.
did he take
Yeah.
that?
I
was not allowed to date
until 18.
until I was 15, 16 years old.
Okay.
So
How old were you when you had your first boyfriend? He knows this African American.
Oh, I was 16.
Okay, so you waited for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, because I was like, wait, is this part of the story too? You were like 13? No, we're not. Are you leaving that out? But in my world, it's like you were married because we were Christian too, and you didn't date, you didn't.
Yeah.
Okay, so I had my quinceañero and everything, and then my parents said you can date. So I had the biggest crush on this guy. So my dad said that I can bring them. Well, I didn't tell him. Who it was. So, mind you, I bring Josh home, and maybe one day he will see this. I bring Josh home. I prep him because I know my mom's a little bit more, chillaxed about it, and she's just like, you love who you love. But my dad's like, you're married Puerto Rican, because that was bettering the race in his eyes.
Yeah.
Sticking to your own kind.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, and so Josh was 6'5".
Oh, big old dude.
And how big was your dad? My dad was 5'10". So literally, Josh walks in, and then his cousin comes in with him. So you have the twin towers.
Oh my God.
And my dad goes, he was ready to get cocky, and then when he goes, he gets up out of the chair and goes, oh, hello. Hi. You good? You want to sit down? Oh, and he went like this. He looked up, and all he saw was height. Down. Yeah, it's like I can go to pass on this one. And then my mom took to them and everything, and we had such a good time. I mean, obviously him and I didn't last long, but he was probably the sweetest first boyfriend you could ever have, So yeah, and then after the conversation was so much fun with my dad.
Oh, I bet.
Which, by the way, I would like to clarify. I lived in Venezuela, so better the race. I mean, mentally, I only have Venezuelan choices, okay? But it was literally about race.
Yeah.
Again, it was back home. That wasn't in Miami.
No, but that just shows the different
mentality,
on how people think.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, Puerto Rican guys didn't like me. Okay, that's and I didn't fit in with the Puerto Rican people because my maiden last name is Johnson. Where do you get Puerto Rican from Johnson? You don't. Okay, I had my great grandmother's last name, so I didn't fit in with them. I didn't fit in with the white people, and I didn't fit in with the black people. I didn't fit in with anybody.
Yeah.
So I was just.
You're a unicorn.
I was a little gypsy, and I had friends in this pocket, friends in this pocket, friends in this pocket. And I think that's
I would walk around.
I still am.
I would walk around during my lunch, and I would just hit my friend group unless conversation was
always go for the underdog. Like, you're always friends with the underdog. And I was like, because I was one. And I get that feeling of not being a part of anything. So, no, that makes so much sense. I, too, met the Hispanic guys. Didn't matter if they were Mexican or whatever, but mainly Mexican. They all liked me. I think it's because I looked white. They had the best of both worlds, right?
I think it's because you had a big booty.
Guys like me for sure.
Mexican guys like big booty. Not a lot of, I would say, not all Hispanics or Latinos, whatever. Like, I don't know about Venezuelans or whatever. Like, from what you've told me, I feel like Venezuelan men like slender women because of how, the culture is there. Yeah. Same thing with Colombians. You don't see very voluptuous Colombian women, like, but Brazilians, they've got big thighs, big butts, you know what I mean? Like, and a very small waist, But, but Mexican men, they love them like big juicy booties.
But now that you said that, in my mind, right, in my brain, the Central American women don't have big booties. I mean, you have some that do, but when I think about women from like Nicaragua or Mexico, Honduras, they don't really have. So when meeting you, Mexicans with big booty, to me, that's like,
but you go to Mexico though, and that's all you see. You see short women with big old booties.
It's really funny that we're talking about booties, because for what you just said, I felt the same way, right? Like, I was like, man, where do I get this butt from? Like, it's like a shelf, right? Like, and it doesn't go away. If I go this way, it's always there. So I did the DNA test, and I was like, I'm sure I have African American. Like, that's, I probably have that from them. Nope, less than 0.01 African American.
Yeah.
I was like, what? So it's definitely from the Hispanic or the Mexican side.
The Mexican side, it is.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you think about it, like the women from the Amazon, though. So I don't know. I mean, well, that's South America, but still, you're talking about Central America, but South American women,
they do. They're voluptuous. But that's what I'm saying. No, that I agree. But in my brain,
and if you're talking about like Mexico City, that's kind of like. And that's close to Central America.
Yes, correct. And that's what I'm getting.
Guadalajara, those different areas.
And that's
the women are a little bit less shapely.
Yes. Well, when I went to Mexico, I went to Mexico City and I went to Guadalajara.
Both places, yeah.
I mean, well, no, Mexico. I want to say people from Mexico City had a very similar. They fit that standard that I have in my brain. In Guadalajara, I feel like I saw all those women that I would see on the novelas, on the soap operas. All of a sudden, now you see the curves, now you see the boobs, now you see the this. And I'm like, so they come to Guadalajara to get the women for the novelas. Literally, that was my brain again.
But that's a big plastic surgery
area.
Capital or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm telling you, that because it's further south Mexico. I'm talking about Chihuahua and like the Chihuahuan states, like up to Jalisco, like all of those like northern Mexican states, like those you have they're short, and they have the hourglass. Listen, our grandmother, big booty, big booty. Like, that's where we got it from. You know what I'm saying? Because my grandma had a big old booty, and she had boobs too.
Yes, she did.
I remember I always stepped on them.
And my mom didn't get that department. Mom and I are.
My mom didn't get it either. My mom had hips when she was younger. She had a small waist and hips.
She's very young.
But she didn't have a big butt, like a big bubble butt,
My grandmom she was this big and she had
big old
hips and booty. My mom, booty, hips. My sister, booty, hips.
He said my mom has no booty. So.
And my dad's brother married a Colombian, and my Theodora. And now I'm thinking about it, and her family that I've met, they're not very shapely women either. Not really, not unless they're added to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're more, beautiful women. Don't mistake them. They're beautiful.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, Venezuela, Colombian, they're not.
And now that you're saying it, I'm thinking, I'm like, she wasn't like that either. She was much more slender and more.
And maybe that's why plastic surgery is so like prevalent there because of the fact that they have to add on, the boobs and the butt or whatever.
I'm willing to give some if you want.
Take it out of here.
I saw my sister on the on a surgery table and put one in here and one in
I was
here.
gonna say that. That I'll take my booty. I like my little booty.
I think Diana can give us her both. My sister. We can share with you guys too. You guys doesn't need none.
I don't need. I definitely don't
No,
need
I'm
anything.
saying she can produce. She can share.
Share with us.
She ain't sharing that.
Boobs, and they're God given. They're not. I have to pay for these.
That's right. My sister was like, take them. I was like, yes. Yes. Isn't it funny how siblings don't always inherit the same thing?
No,
the same
no, yeah.
And my brother, I feel like he looks more Hispanic. He looks more my name, and I look more like my dad.
Mm-hmm.
But it's funny because I ran our DNA, and our DNA is very similar. But he actually shows more of my dad's DNA than I do. The Britain and the Irish.
What does yours show? Like, what's your whole mix?
Oh, I pulled it up because I can't always remember it. So mine showed 24% Great Britain, 22% Iberian Peninsula.
Yeah.
And 14%.
That's Spain. That's the Spanish one.
Yep. 14% European West, 12% Native American from Chihuahua, Durango, Jalisco, and then 10% Irish, Scottish, Wales, and 8% Scandinavian. Which is funny because nobody ever thinks I'm any of those. They always say I'm Italian or Greek. That's what I get.
You do kind of have the Greek.
Yeah.
Like when that Big Fat Greek Wedding came out.
Yeah.
Everybody, you look just like that star. I'm like, is she pretty?
She's pretty.
You know, like in my head, I'm like, really? I'm like, that's what I look. Yeah, she is very pretty. But that's what I get, Greek and Italian all the time.
Yeah.
Hands down all the time. And it's very rare and it's usually men that'll pick up on the Mexican.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's because I got your booty. Italian women don't have big booties.
No, it's
They're
like
also
Greek
twins.
women. This one
They're
guy
also
was like,
twins.
you remind me of the women in my village in Italy. I'm like, why? They all had thick thighs because we rode bicycles everywhere. I'm like, okay, thank you. I'll take it.
That was exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, I know.
I like your booty.
I know. But yeah, that's what it was. But my brother showed more of the Britain than I did. So it was interesting, but his coloring is more of my mom's.
Yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how siblings don't inherit the same.
Well, my sister and my sister, ever since I remember, literally ever since I remember, because we would go to my dad's house and we have an 8-year gap, right? So my dad would be like, oh, go shower together, right? So if I was 8, she was 16. So I was little.
Crazy.
See,
My sister does not look that much older than you.
Yeah, so.
Good for her.
Yeah. Don't even get me started, okay? I can't tell you how many people, like, throughout my life, like, the moment I turned 18, I stopped looking like a little girl. Or not 18, but, like, high school years. And ever since that moment, people always ask me if I'm older than my sister.
Well, I wouldn't have thought that. No,
But all I'm trying to say, you'll be surprised how many people have told me that. Especially when she dresses a little bit more like me, and then she looks more, you know, useful. Yeah, there you go. I was waiting for the juvenile to come out because she was getting ready to say it. So at that age, I was showered, and I'm not gonna put the details of my sister's life out there, but at that age, my sister's boobs were like humongous. Like as an 8-year-old, I'll be like, because they were even bigger than my mom's. Now my sister, she doesn't have a booty. I got the booty. I mean, not compared to you, girl. I have no booty compared to all 3 of you. But I have my nice booty that I enjoy. I will never do anything to it. I like it, and it has a boobs. So we kind of the complete opposite.
Isn't it funny though?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like I've always marveled when I meet sisters or family members or even in our own family who got what and from where, and sometimes you're like, wow, that came down from like two ancestries or like great grandparents, right? Yeah. It's crazy how DNA works.
Oh yeah.
We're a big melting pot for sure.
So I want to talk about the challenges and the benefits of being bilingual. I know you already stated like you don't speak a lot of Spanish, but so speak about the challenges that you have, that you encounter in trying to like find the words and like, you know what I'm saying? And then we're going to talk about, I want these girls to talk about like, we've had this conversation before where it's like my brain thinks in English now because I don't speak enough Spanish anymore. And, or because, you know, I'm 50 years old now, so, you know.
That's 50.
That's 50. But most of my life I've been speaking English. So now I think in English first. Whereas when I was growing up, I used to think in Spanish first because being always around grandma and grandpa and stuff, like I would always think in Spanish first and then have to translate it into English before it came out. Now it's the opposite for me. So can you touch on that? Like just
well, it's funny you're asking that question because I just had this conversation the other day with somebody because reading for me as a child, I feel like I transpose things and I thought it was a form of dyslexia, but now I'm seeing it in my niece and I'm wondering if it's more because we heard Spanish and we would read and write English, but our minds still sometimes think Spanish. Not so much that we know it, it's just that we hear it. So when we see it, we're like, oh, okay, that should be this way. So I think the challenge is I'm going to tell you guys why I don't speak Spanish. I'm embarrassed of my Spanish. I feel like it's not ever. I'm Gemini. I hate being corrected. I hate it. I know I need it, and it's needed to be constructive criticism. That's part of my traits. It's that little child in me that's like, don't reprimand me, you know. I'm gonna go against you, and then I dig my heels in, and so I feel like when I do speak Spanish, in Florida when I tried, because I did try. I was running into so many different people, and then I'd say something, I'd be like, well, I know that's the word, but it wasn't their word. So then finally I just was like, you know what, I'm just going to stop. I'm just going to listen and, do it when I can. And then when I go see grandma and grandpa, and they would correct me, and I'd be like, God, I'm still sucking. Like, I still can't get it. And it was a really deflating experience to try to learn Spanish. So I wish I would have learned it. I wish that I would have learned it young. I think there's beneficial to what you were saying, how you learned it at a young age. So yes, your mind's switching now, but imagine doing that at a young age, trying to, when you're speaking already English mainly, and then trying to learn Spanish. And everybody's like, English is the hardest language. I'm like, I know, but it's the only language I knew. So, and then I took French in school instead of Spanish because, I had my mom, so why would I take Spanish? Hindsight. So then you throw in other languages, it further confuses you, and your brain, as you get older, cannot. I feel like I cannot connect. Sometimes I'll hear you guys, and I hear the words, and I'm really good at context. So I'll pick like 3 words that you say, and I'm like, all right, I know what they're talking about. Yeah. I may not fully understand what you're saying, but I get the context.
I love when I look at Kim and we said something, she goes.
I got it.
Like I don't know who I agree, but I agree. I got it. Yeah. But I think that it is definitely something that is it's a challenge. And I could see where you guys would have a challenge because I know with my mom, her challenge of learning, she spoke only Spanish when she got here in 8th grade. So she self-taught English. And I think that too messed me up because some of her grammar is not correct. So I don't speak real good English and I don't speak real good Spanish.
Oh, there's that.
Did that help? I mean, I don't know if that answered what you were asking, but that's what I've been thinking about lately. I'm like, no wonder it's so flipping hard. Yeah. And then I throw in other things. Like, I know how to read. I can read Spanish. I know the alphabet in Spanish. I don't feel comfortable speaking it. And that's horrible that you feel that way.
Practice then.
So
and you have to be okay with people correcting you because look at it more of
that's what I tell myself. But that little, like you're a Virgo and you have your trait, that little Gemini trait comes up, and I'm like, okay, and then I get quiet. And I'm like, well, now I don't feel like I'm part of the conversation.
I'll be honest. My secret to learn English, anyways, is music and cartoons. Because I was.
They speak so fast in Spanish.
They do, but here's what you do: you find a song that you like, right? Like I don't know, Despacito, right? You've heard that song a million times. But you're like, what is the song actually saying? All right, print the lyrics. Pause it, write the lyrics, and find a translation. Or maybe translate it as you go so your brain can.
That's a good idea.
But then when you hear the song, then you try to sing along. It took me almost 6 years to learn English because I was embarrassed to speak English. Because I lived in Miami, I didn't need English. So I'm here in youth camp, and I'm like, I'm so freaking lost. I can't speak to anybody. I don't understand the preaching. I don't know the songs. And to me, that was the moment where I said, okay, I'm gonna learn English because now I'm about to graduate high school. I really don't know English, you know. But that would be my suggestion to you. But I get what you're saying about learning, because when Logan, he was in pre-K, about to go into kindergarten, I forced him to speak Spanish. But his comfort is English. So Logan grew up with siblings speaking English, dad speaking English, and I'm forcing Spanish on his throat. Spanish, Spanish, Spanish. Pre-K came around, and the teacher called us, and they said, hey, he's not ready for kindergarten. And we're like, wait, why? He's so smart. He's so clever. I mean, you guys have been. And then they're like, yeah, but when it comes to speaking the letters, the numbers, he's all confused. Yeah. He's not doing well. He's falling behind. So what did I do? I stopped speaking to him in Spanish. Kid you not, within a month, his switch changed. All of a sudden, he knew his ABCs, he knew his number, he knew everything. And then, you know, you see him now. He's in fourth grade, reading eighth grade level. You know, but guess what? He doesn't speak Spanish.
And I think that you're right about that, because he was submerged in the English culture. Like if I had been more around like if it wasn't just my mom speaking to me, I feel like it would have been easier. But because I had her in my head, and she spoke like a broken like Spanglish to me, right? Like half English, half Spanish. It's definitely, and I think the same with Franklin. I think she gets the same thing. Like, you know, her mom speaks Spanish, she's fluent. My brother is not fluent, but my mom lives with my brother, so she hears it. But I do think it does mess with our brains a little bit more young. I thought I was dyslexic. Like, still to this day sometimes. I'll be like, oh, maybe I'm dyslexic.
My brain processing of whatever the word is. But I had three things happen real quick. So the first one is when I go visit my cousins and stuff in PR, they start making fun of me because of my Spanish. But you know what? I don't give a shit. I still can get around here, and I can talk to whoever I need to talk to.
So right. Online or here in the States.
To me, yeah, I don't live in the island, you know, and I'm not speaking Spanish. I'm in the U.S. and I speak the way I speak.
And Puerto Rican Spanish in Puerto Rico, that's a whole other thing.
That would be really fast.
Yeah, so I mean, and they'll correct you, but I like being corrected because then I can understand. I can talk to like the cleaners at my job, and I can communicate with them and understand words and not like insert foot and say the wrong thing, you know. So
that is how you're corrected. That really makes a difference. By the way.
Oh, when they are you kidding me? They make fun of me. They start giggling. They're like, yeah, and I'm like, oh, did I say it wrong? I was like, how do I say it? And they'll tell me, and then I'm like, okay, carry on. Yeah. My mom corrects me now. She's like, you need to speak more Spanish because you're starting to lose your Spanish. I'm like, what do you want me to do? I live surrounded around gringos.
Yeah.
And it's hard to, if you're not using it, and Sean gets mad at me because he's like, you didn't teach us Spanish. I was like, your dad is American. And when I would teach you Spanish, it's like, speaking English. So I can't pour into you if they're not willing to help me pour into you.
Bridge we need to figure out how to cross.
Yeah,
for sure, though, with our kids.
The other third thing. I pray in Spanish. I think in Spanish. Sometimes it's hard, though, for me to switch them off. And I think that's where I get stumbled up when I'm speaking Spanish to, like, one of the cleaners, one of the engineers, whatever it is. And it's like my brain, I literally need to stop. I'm like, okay, we're on Spanish mode. It's like, hit that switch so I can keep up with what I'm saying. Because sometimes my mouth starts moving, it starts moving in English. But my thoughts are in Spanish, but it's coming out in English.
Really?
Yeah, it's the weirdest.
Oh my
and that's why I thought I had, like, I might have some dyslexia, and especially having ADD and stuff. It's like, holy crap.
I think it's probably more of what
you know, there's more to me. There's so much shit going on in my head, and then it's like trying to switch everything around and speaking it properly. And
you guys seem to flow really well when you speak Spanish to three of you.
Sometimes we lose each other.
Yeah, they do lose me.
We do.
They do lose me because they say things and I'm like, wait, what's that? Like, or I'll say things and they're like, what? What is that? You know, and I'm like, what do you guys call it? Like, what's on my stove right now? What do you call that? Comal. Yep.
Comal.
Exactly. But they don't call it that. They call it,
Budare.
I call it a sartén.
Un sartén.
Un sartén. To me, it's a sartén.
To me, a sartén is like
Yeah, the saucepan.
yeah,
Correct.
or a frying pan.
Or frying pan.
Yeah, I agree. Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, to me, some budare.
It's flat. See? Those are the things
But
I read into Argentina.
hold on. I'm gonna justify Joe. In Puerto Rican culture, they don't cook anything that requires a comal.
Yeah, you don't make tortillas. You don't make
We have a budare because we make arepas.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
How do you say it again?
Arepas.
No, I know. I'm sorry.
Budare.
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 Burrane. Budare. That's a hard one. I would not think you're cooking arepas with it. That's for sure.
Yeah. But that's what's funny. She doesn't have a word for it because Puerto Ricans don't really cook anything like that.
But even chanclas or purses. What do you say first? What do you say for purse? Oh, we had this conversation.
Yeah, we did have this conversation.
We say cartera.
We say cartera too.
And the to us, that's wallet. Cartera is a wallet.
To me,
Bolsa.
To me, a wallet.
Like a bag.
A bolsa
your
to
bag, your
us
purse.
is a grocery bag. Well, to me, it's a grocery bag.
Plástico is a grocery bag. Una bolsa is your
But do
bag.
you see how confusing this is?
It's
Put yourself where I was
Yeah.
at 13 in Florida with all the different dialects.
Yeah.
I'm going, I'm wrong all the time. I'm wrong all the time. Even when I think I'm right, I'm wrong. Even if it's dialect. And then the more people you surround yourself with, you can understand. Like, I can understand Yvette when she goes off on a tangent. I grew up around Mexicans, you know, and my brother-in-law's Mexican. Obviously, my ex was Mexican, but so I can understand because I did grow up in a little town in PA where it's just little Mexico. So I heard it all the time. So I can pick up on stuff that she says and understand it, which is cool.
Let me ask you something because I'm honestly unaware. How far is Jersey from PA?
Not that far.
Depends on where you're talking about. Like the whole state or
No,
where?
okay, hold on. Allentown.
Allentown is far.
Allentown is far.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why PA has two airports, right? There's one that's close to
Philadelphia and there's one in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
It's a bigger state than Jersey.
So it would take for me to get to my aunt, and she lived in Oxford from Jersey where I lived, and I lived in Central Jersey or South Jersey, whichever one. It would take me about 6 hours to get to her.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
6 hours.
PA is
Wow.
PA is it's big.
It's a big state.
It's a big state.
Yeah, it's a big state. New Jersey is a small little state.
Well, it's just because when I think, if you put 6 hours into perspective, right? I think of from Miami to Orlando, it's like almost 3 hours. So when you say 6 hours, and in my brain, going to Miami to Orlando always felt like so far. Hey, going from Miami to Fort Lauderdale felt like it was so far. Like if you're from Miami, you don't really go to Fort Lauderdale.
Because it's flat and there's nothing there.
Yeah, there's nothing to look at, right? It's just going.
Yeah. I know, because that's how I felt.
It feels like forever.
From here to Jersey is 13 hours.
From here to Jersey?
From here to Naples.
Oh,
is 10 hours.
yeah. Well, from here to Miami, there's 13 hours.
But it took us 8 hours to get to Tampa, right?
Yeah.
8 hours. Yeah.
And 10 hours to get to
Naples.
Okay.
And it feels very long because it's very boring on that road.
I'm going to take this moment to, on our show, we are kind of toying around with some ideas, but one of the ideas was to have a what the fuck moment.
Oh, I love this.
So I was watching a bunch of different shit last week, and I kept writing things down because I was like, oh my God, what the fuck? Okay, so and it just so happens that all these things have to do with pregnancies, okay?
Okay.
The first one is, well, it's still a what the fuck, you'll see. The first one was a woman who was pregnant with twins, fraternal twins, meaning two different sex, two placentas in the same uterus, though, okay? Different deaths.
Yeah, that does happen. I've heard of that.
I never heard that.
I have heard of that
happening
Yeah.
unless you get like, I have heard where they get artificially inseminated, like
And
with
then
a sperm
then
donor,
they have
and then all of a sudden they have sex, and then that one takes.
But it's really rare, though, right?
Super rare.
Yeah.
This one was a white lady, white husband, black lady.
That's like the memes you see when the baby comes out, and you're like, what the fuck is that?
Who's the dad? Who is the dad? Yeah.
So
I don't know.
Did they say?
No, they didn't say. They didn't say, but they were just like, it was like, actually it was the man doing the reel or whatever, because you could hear his voice, and he was like, I love both the kids, they're both mine, whatever. We don't know the backstory. He didn't say it was a reel or something I watched on Instagram. So I was just like,
I need more info on that.
I went to his page and I was like, tell me more. I couldn't find anything.
He left you with a cliffhanger.
He did.
Wow, that is a what the fuck moment. And more because I want to know the story now.
Now I know.
Well, remember, you know what I saw this week? Talking about what the fuck. You remember our last what the fuck moment?
Yes.
So
with the lady that shits in her shower. Continue.
Oh,
that was
that
she
was
talking
your
about
what the
no,
fuck
she
moment.
was talking about the one that I brought up,
yes.
and then we were talking about it.
Did we talk about it in the podcast?
We did.
We did, right? We did. Okay. So we had one of our what the fuck women, right? She sent us a reel about. Oh, I remember now. They called 911. The boyfriend or husband, whatever, passed out. Why did he pass out? Because apparently he was shrimping. Have you heard about shrimping?
Do you know what shrimping
No.
is?
Okay, shrimping.
I'm scared with you
We
guys.
did not-
I have no idea.
We did not know.
We did not know what it was.
I think I know what it means for some stuff, but I don't know about this.
Okay. Well,
I'm sure I'm wrong.
long story short,
You will be
it's
educated.
basically he comes in the booty,
Okay.
then he grabs a straw. Sexism come out of her ass.
I figured it was sexual with y'all.
Yeah.
A lot
But-
of people matter.
But it is disgusting.
Yeah.
But this week I saw a reel that was hilarious, girl. It was hilarious, because it's kind of like another like a talk show or something, and then the guy looks at the girlfriend and he goes, "Well, she be popping the plan B's like there's no tomorrow or whatever," and then she goes, "'Cause that's my fault. Whose fault is that?" And then he goes, "You're the one that doesn't want me sucking on the babies out of you." And I'm like, what? So he wants to come inside of her and then go down on her and suck his own come out. Why?
Yeah, I don't understand everything.
I just don't understand.
This is why OnlyFans makes so much money.
Okay. But I'm gonna give you a little what the fuck on. We talked about this on a separate episode.
That's messed up.
I'm gonna give you a little what the fuck moment, okay? A little what the fuck of my own. For me, it's disgusting to hear that a man wants to suck his cum out of his woman's either pussy, whatever, it doesn't matter.
That's disgusting in general. Yeah.
Why? But on my side, I'm okay if he's been down on me or whatever. I come on his face and then he comes up and kisses me. I'm okay with that. I know my juices are all on, like, in his mouth and on his tongue, whatever.
Or his beer or something.
On his beard, whatever it is, and I'm totally fine with that. Because it's like, it's me. Like, I'm like, man, it's just me. So maybe, but I just can't wrap my brain around that.
I feel like I have grown out of it. Or into
But
it.
you're not saying you want to suck the eggs off his face.
No.
There's a difference. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. There's a difference. It'd be different if he said, I don't mind, but he's literally saying he wants to suck
The
baby
baby.
out of her.
Yeah.
Like, that's a whole different level, cousin. Like, you're just, that's a whole other thing. You don't mind the dick or whatever.
No, but hold
You're
on.
not like, hey, I want to suck my eggs off your face. I mean, come on. Oh my God.
I was
Who
saying
said
that.
that? Who said that?
I don't know. But
Maybe you should have wrong.
for many years, if a guy tries to go down on me and try to kiss me, I'll be like, I don't want to kiss myself.
And then a lot of men are like that. When you go down on them and they finish in your mouth or whatever, they'll be like, they won't kiss you again until you go wash up.
You wash, right? And like I said, I feel like I've gotten to grown out of that a little bit, where it doesn't gross me out as much. But it was a lot of years. I'll be like, no.
Again, it depends on how much this, I think.
I agree.
Definitely.
Or how much
Yeah.
I'm a little bit looser when everything goes except for that, though.
No, I still wish your cooking would be out.
No.
No,
I don't care how fucked up I am.
no, we're not jumping.
That would probably end the whole thing right there.
Yeah.
It'd be like the record would stop.
Yeah. We're done.
Yeah. I'm not longer hot.
It's a visual. I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm dry.
Yeah, I'm dry. You know what?
So, okay, back to my what the fuck moment. As it goes, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I just have two more. The next one is there was a man on a reel again, okay, and actually it was a reel of a news thingy, like on the news, like CNN or whatever. Anyway, it was a man, married, black man, married to a white woman, and has a stepdaughter with the white woman, right? It was a white girl, white stepdaughter.
Yeah. Oh no.
God.
Has the mom pregnant and the stepdaughter.
Oh, I saw that one.
Boom!
I know which one you're talking about.
And they're sitting on the couch because they're interviewing them on it. And they're like, oh yeah, she's having whatever Darnell Jr. and I'm having whatever. I'm looking at both of them and they're both like hugging him, like
Girl, this kumbaya. This is the shit you used to watch on TV for what is that show? Jerry Springer shit.
I can understand like sister wives or whatever. Like, okay, my cousin and I, like you and I, what? But me and my daughter? Fuck no. I'm sorry. I mean,
that,
that
just brings up a whole bunch of other questions about that poor girl's life. And then,
like I said, listen, now I want to get creepy a bit. Not creepy, but like, was she raped? You know what I'm saying?
That's what I'm saying. Like I don't know. Like,
well, clearly not if she was sitting there, but she might have been groomed. That's
right.
what I'm saying.
Yes.
Like, rape, maybe not. I mean, maybe, but maybe not because she was sitting there with him now, like happy, like if that's how it was.
Right, especially because the mom's
crazy.
Yeah, she's pregnant. She's totally okay with her daughter.
And they're dressed in the same.
And they did have like the same outfit.
She was groomed. Yeah. That's
and they were about.
That sounds like.
And they were as far along, like
they were
about the same.
Like 7-8 months. Yeah, they were like.
He needs to. I'm not gonna say it.
I wonder if they had like a threesome or something like.
That's what I'm thinking. They
took
was
care of
groomed
both
for
of them.
that.
Oh god. Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. Oh,
what the fuck?
Yeah, that is a what the fuck for sure.
Then I saw.
Springer, what the fuck? Yeah.
And this one's gonna fucking trip you guys.
Yeah. No, I want to take let the dick off.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That's what I was like.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
And
we don't know. We don't know.
If I was the dad of that daughter, he would.
Hell no.
Yeah.
Get the shovel. He'd be worse. He's better off dead because he'd be worth more money probably.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So the last one is I saw a picture and they were. It was a picture of two conjoined twins, right? So each of them has one boob. Like
I've seen this.
So two people, one person type of thing.
Two heads.
They're
two
heads,
one body.
One body. Two heads, one body. That's
so like one head was part of the left and one head was part of the right.
Exactly. Pregnant. So my question is.
Oh, I read about these.
Whose baby is it? Hers or mine? Like. You know what I mean? Whose baby?
Is that the one
body?
I know.
One baby.
Are those chicks that the one girl married?
I think that I remember this story.
I don't know. No, I don't think so because
how many conjoined twins are there out there in the world?
There's a lot.
There's a bunch.
I know which one you're talking about, and they're not very pretty.
They're not
beautiful girls.
Well,
blonde hair.
Whichever side the ovary. If it's on the left ovary or the right ovary, that's whose baby it is.
How are you gonna tell which one actually?
The doctor can tell. Yeah, the doctor can tell.
I don't know, but I want to say
which egg was fertilized.
Yeah. They're sharing the baby. They're sharing the baby.
That moment for
that
sure.
Is what the fuck.
More importantly, what the fuck about that is how do you sit there like, okay, I get threesomes, all right, cool, whatever, but how do you sit there like you're here, I'm here, and we're together, and we're being pleasured at the same time? Are we kissing? Are we messing with each
I'll let you be. I'll be on my phone.
No, but it's one body. That's what that word.
That's what I'm saying. The baby's here.
Yeah.
Well, there's two heads.
Yeah, but if she orgasms, so does she. Because
it's one body.
You can't like
both two.
it's one body. They're connected.
Well, I know they're connected, but
but I'm like you.
But you know how you were saying like the right or the left.
But one is only one area.
One vagina.
And they both feel. They both brain scan the pressure of the.
I mean, I would assume they would have to. But how does
it
that
would be
work?
very hard to be
how would that work in
dissociated with
how would that work? Like, seriously. So how do you pick the guy? So does the left girl get to pick the guy? Or the right girl get to pick the guy?
Or do they get to have two guys?
Right. And then
only one vagina.
Just two brains.
intrigued by this what the fuck.
Crazy. Oh, okay.
And I thought having a threesome was weird. Did you imagine two girls with like two heads?
Two heads. But what gets me is like, okay, so like this, even if you're making out, like this, oh damn, that must feel good. All right, even if you're making out with one head, okay, you're making out with one head over here, and your sister's over here. This head over here is only controlling the left side of the body. You need the other one to be engaged, so both hands are on the guy, both legs, whatever. Like, unless he's just sitting there, like, you know. I don't want any part of this. I'm not moving. I don't agree with this.
And then when she raised
wild.
Like, how does that work legally?
She's not in the mood. She's not in the mood.
So many questions right now.
So many questions, but the main one for me, I was like, whose baby is it? Hers or hers? It's obviously his, but whose baby is it?
I'm with Kim, whichever ovary made it. That's how I would play it.
So wild. This is your aunt.
Okay, I have a complete different take on this.
You want your answer?
Again, so fucking weird. No thing. You can't dissociate. You're literally there.
And then what happens at birth? Is it
Thank
natural?
you.
They both have to push?
Yes.
They both have to do that? You know, like what happens? They both feel pain.
That's wild.
Well, what I was thinking is, like, what if one is, like, watching, like, looking at something, and they get it, like, aroused, and the other would be like, what are you watching? Because she's feeling same body. What are you watching, girl? Because I'm getting all the steam.
Yeah. I can feel you.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
So are there conjoined boys? How can we only hear about girls?
There are conjoined boys. There are conjoined boys. I feel like we only hear about the girls because of shit like this.
Well, then I wonder how that works with the boys, because if it's one penis, two minds, which mind is controlling
the penis?
The penis.
They're both like, hey,
But how?
you like this.
But what?
I feel like the is easier.
What if one was the status?
Oh, yeah, so good.
Use that other hand. So easy.
You got questions? We got questions. We got lots of questions.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I need to know now. I need to know.
Okay. So bringing us back in, my question I have for you guys is, what do you love most about your culture? And take it away.
Chiffon live. Sorry. Well, it's just a whole meme about how nobody says I love Cracker Barrel. Have you seen the comedian? What's his face? Goodness. Anyway, so he does like a stand-up comedy thing where he's like, "Do you know why I know that Americans love Hispanic food? Because there's a meme saying, I love Chipotle." And Chipotle's live. Yeah, and then he goes, "Do you hear anybody saying, I love Cracker Barrel?" Cracker Barrel's live. Anyway, so that's why I said that. Yeah, I definitely love the food. I mean, depending what country, what, I mean, just, when we decide to go get something to eat, or like, oh, seafood, oh, this or that, we can just find anything within the Hispanic culture depending what you're craving, right? So I think between music, flavor, I guess, that's simplicity, flavor. Between music and food. Yeah. I think that's my favorite part of
the culture.
Yeah. Kim? Which culture do you want?
Both. Both, girlfriend.
Well, let's see. In the white culture, my dad's background, I like, which I guess I can't just say because it's white, because it's South, the Southern culture, because that's where we're from. I like the country aspect. I like the music. I like the food too. They have good food. But in the Spanish culture, I love the drinking. No, I really love it.
I think we should do an episode about growing up in a Hispanic drinking culture.
Well, you know I always say I'm only Mexican from my liver down. I'm way from
what you're used to be.
But my Hispanic is really the family. The value is the family. That's really what I love about our culture. I love how, like you said, it's very abrasive. Everybody loves everybody, and it's very. That is probably my favorite thing about it, at least what I've experienced for my side, which hasn't been a lot. But the food's good too. Don't get me wrong. The food's great, but there's always it's Mexicans cooking all the food for everywhere you go anyway, so it doesn't matter. No matter what restaurant you're at, Chinese, everywhere, it's always Mexicans back there cooking. So hey, we're good.
It's true. Except in California. In California, you go to Mexican restaurants, all the Chinese people cooking Mexican food.
Interesting.
Weird. Yeah. But the Mexicans are at the Chinese food restaurants cooking out Chinese food.
It's weird, right?
Weird.
Wow.
You know, y'all have to have Chinese food in Puerto Rico. That shit is fire.
Is it Puerto Rican?
Is it made by Puerto Ricans?
No.
Chinese people.
It's made by Chinese people.
Chinese Puerto Ricans. The same thing in Venezuela. In Venezuela, we have Chinese and we have Chinese Venezuelan.
Not Korean, not
Chinese.
Okay.
Chinese. And I'm a firm believer they make the best chicken.
They
food.
should.
Yeah. That mix, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a little mix of everything, but they season everything. But oh my god,
Best fried rice. Best fried rice.
just kidding.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm with Kim. The whole family aspect. We don't have to hear from each other for like 3 or 4 years, and then when we come together, we reconnect. The other is the drinking. Hell yeah. And the food. I mean, besides that, the culture, the Hispanic culture is just beautiful in general with all the different little spices here and there and all the history and all that stuff. I just love being Hispanic. I love being Puerto Rican, and it's who I am. It's who I grew up being, whether other people thought that I was or I wasn't.
What I'm learning about the whole thing, like I love being Hispanic, I can honestly tell you that I can probably pull that and make it smaller and say I love being part of the Caribbean, because the food that I like, it's the Caribbean food, like the now food that I'm like, like I so want the plantains, like all this,
the finger licking.
it's the Caribbean. Same thing with the music. It's the Caribbean music. It's all that the partying, that let's have a good time, like that, the water, the beach. Yeah, like you're always by the water, you're always by the beach, you're always, that whole
vibe.
Yeah, that's awesome. I agree with all of that. The next question that I have for you guys is, what do you miss about your hometown?
We're gonna start with you. Yeah, thank you. Because I was gonna start. Which one?
Yeah. What do you miss about your hometown?
Girl, I miss the pizza. I miss the Italian food. You were talking about Jersey, right?
Yeah. Wherever is your hometown.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
The pizza, the Philly cheesesteak.
I love
Oh
Philly
my
cheesesteak.
God. I mean, actual Philly cheesesteak.
Yes.
People from Georgia.
Yes.
And the pizza, the Italian food, because you get the Italians.
The real Italians, yeah.
It's just, that's what I miss the most, is just the food up north. Love the southern food, don't get me wrong, but I do miss, that is the one thing I miss the most, is the food. The way the food is made. It's made with love. People love making it, like, here you go.
Yep. Kim?
The simplicity
Of life?
in general. It was a little slower pace, and it was closer to the values that I grew up with. So I missed that part.
Yeah.
Hometown. Let's see. In Venezuela, hometown for me is Valencia, even though I wasn't born there, but that's where I spent most of my childhood. Okay, so to me it's Valencia. And what I miss the most is the family value, because I guess to me it kind of broke when I moved to the States. But my mom's uncle, he owns a farm. It's funny because actually the whole thing is called the safari, because back in the day it was a little jungle-ish, I guess, and people started building. So the whole community, even though it's kind of country, because it's like you have land, like you have a couple acres, each person has a couple acres, it's still almost like a close community. It's not almost. It is a close community, like gated community, just humongous gated community, right? So anyway, so my uncle had a house there, his second house, not his main house, was there. So every Sunday, anybody within the family, whether it was completely related, or you were a friend of a friend that was always around. You were still family, right? Whoever, doesn't matter the level of actually family you were, you knew that every Sunday there was going to be sancocho made at my uncle's house, and you can meet every Sunday. Or if you were close to the family, it was always every Saturday and Sunday.
You don't have to make you.
So anyway, so that was like the thing, and I miss the family vibe, the knowing that it doesn't matter what you do during the week, you were gonna, and it was drinking, it was playing dominoes, it was a soup. He had a pool, so the kids were playing in the pool. So you could do anything and everything. You can ride motorcycles, you could anything, because again, it was very country, but it was safe, I guess, because again, like it was gated. But anyway, so I messed up from Valencia, which Safari is not really in Valencia. It's like in the outskirts, but whatever. And from Miami, I will say the food, the variety of food. Because literally, you will wake up and say, "I want Dominican food." You have Dominican food. You want this. You want whatever. It didn't Italian. You have Italian. It doesn't matter what you had in Miami. You're gonna find it. Here it's like, okay, I want Dominican food. Okay, let me search. I make 3 restaurants. I make Dominican food, and they all suck. You know. So I missed the food.
That, or you have to go all the way to Atlanta.
Yes, which I haven't done. They told me about this Cuban spot in Atlanta, because again, I'm from Miami, so Cuban food is big for me. They're like, yeah, you'll find the pastelitos and the coffee, but you have to drive an hour for coffee and pastelitos. I'm like, I don't know.
To me, the Cuban food and the Cuban coffee is the best in Florida.
Oh yeah,
you can't bring that up to Georgia. Sorry.
What do you
mean? For me, it's the food, definitely. The food in El Paso. I mean, I've lived in a lot of other places. I've lived over here in North Carolina, the East Coast. I've lived in California for most of my adult life. I've lived in Baton Rouge. Nothing beats, and I've been to other places in Texas. Nothing beats the Mexican food in El Paso. El Paso is real authentic Mexican food, aside from being in Mexico. And I'm talking about northern Mexico, because sometimes people are like, sometimes people say, oh, no, the food is in, okay, I'm not talking about southern Mexico. I'm talking about from central up. And no other place. I don't care if they're border towns, whatever, because El Paso is a border town. You go to San Diego don't have no Mexican food.
Not the same as.
It's not the same. Yeah. It's Baja style. It's good, but it's not Mexican food.
I don't like Baja style.
It's not Mexican food.
Give me the real shit.
El Paso,
You know what? I like Tex-Mex. Tex-Mex I like a little bit.
There's a lot of San Antonio for that, and McAllen, and all Laredo, like all Brownsville, where my ex is from. Like
I think here we have more Tex-Mex than we do Mexican.
Definitely.
I mean, anywhere in the South you go, it's more Tex-Mex.
Definitely.
And then that's why when we pick the restaurants we like, it's because it tastes the closest to the northern Mexico that we're used to.
Yeah. So, for me, it's the food. And then, of course, my family and stuff. Because growing up, I felt like we had, like, such an amazing childhood. And just our family was so close-knit. And all our cousins, grew up together. Even though we lived far away from each other, we still, like, when we saw each other, it was like, we picked up right where we left off. Like,
and we did that at your party.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah, you guys didn't skip a beat. I haven't seen half of them, and God, I haven't seen Ralito, and I can't even tell you how long. We just picked up where we left off.
Yep.
It's it's just, I like that.
Yeah. We have that camaraderie and close family ties.
I actually miss that in the sense of culturally we've lost that. Like I mean, my sister has 2 boys, right? I have 2 boys, but the oldest is too old in comparison to my young ones, right? But even though I try to spend a lot of time with my sister, or my nephew spends time with my son and things like that, it's still just them 2. I grew up where there were like 10 of us, at the very least 10 cousins or 8 cousins. There was a lot of us. And if you got mad with one cousin, it doesn't matter. You had another cousin to play with, It didn't matter. And like I said, I feel like we're losing a little bit of that.
Girl, we had 27, almost 30. Like,
That's what I'm saying. Like, it was never a little bit.
Yeah.
Like I said, you got bored with this one, or you got into a little fight with this one. You had a bunch more cousins to go run and play with. My nephew and Logan got into a fight. They're like in 2 corners in their room, and I'm like, come on, get over it. You're going to love each other tomorrow. It's okay.
It happens.
It happens. But it's because I feel like there's not enough cousins,
And unfortunately, my kids kids, that's what they complain about the most is that they didn't, because I was married to someone in the military, and because I knew for sure that I wasn't going to ever stay in El Paso. Like since I was in middle school, elementary maybe, I don't know, but literally I knew I was going to fly the coop. I knew I was going to go, and that I wasn't going to come back, to stay or whatever. So because I'm such a lone wolf, and because I fly the coop and I'm a free spirit and go like your
tía Licha.
Yeah, and Diablen, not like my mom. My mom is like thrown in there. She's like, no.
That's your set.
Yeah.
Fly, baby, fly.
Yeah. So, because of that though, we would go and visit and everything when the kids were small, but we were a family of 5. It was hard to go and visit every single year or whatever, and nobody ever came to visit us. So, it just was what it was, and my kids were not close to even my ex's side, because my ex has more, brothers and sisters. He has brothers and sisters. I don't have any brothers and sisters, but even like with my cousins and stuff, like they started getting older, and I would say, okay, I'm going to Tia So-so's house, or, wherever, and they'd be like, do we have to go, like, and I knew that they would be bored because they didn't grow up with them, you know what I'm saying?
And now they're regretting it.
Yeah, but it's the same. They say, like, we're not close to anybody, and we're okay with that. They're close with each other, so they have each other. I'm glad I have more than one kid. Yeah. I'll say that. But
I think it changes when grandparents die.
Yeah.
That was the hub of the family. Like I really do. Like for all of us, I think that probably changed it, because when the grandparents are like, all the siblings come together.
Yeah.
Now that they're gone, everybody has their own little family unit.
Totally.
And then it doesn't matter if there's 4 or 5 of them. There's no like gather, like you're talking about the safari, or there's no gathering spot anymore.
Correct. So, yeah.
I feel like that's the missing piece, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's true. My mom tried to keep it up for a little bit, and then Terry did too. Like but it's hard. And then you get tired.
And it's a lot.
It's a lot. I don't even know how my grandma and my grandpa did it. Like,
either.
Honestly,
I know how. Grandpa was there.
Grandpa was always
and Grandma in the kitchen.
But that's what it was. It was like she was always cooking, nothing but cooking. Like
my dad's family, they all live on the same land, so they see themselves. They see themselves all the time. Hey.
Yeah, technology has helped a lot, because
for sure.
I know, like for me with my niece, this has been able to help me a lot with her, like staying in touch with her. But even when COVID happened, you remember, and we did that cousin Zoom call?
Yeah.
And there was like 20 of us on Zoom at like 3 in the morning, which was like midnight my time. But we're partying and we're talking, and I was like, man, we should do this more often, because it was a good way for us to.
It was fun.
Reconnect.
I mean, we were adults, but still,
it was almost like we were back in our childhood, but as an adult.
Yeah. We got together and we were like, hey, bring your drinks, whatever. And I'm like, all right, cool, But but it was cool. It's very cool.
I just mean we have ways, we just have to utilize them.
Yeah, for sure. Well, ladies, we have been on for an hour and 45 minutes.
Nailed it.
Wow. Yeah. So this is awesome.
I don't know what our goal was, but
We always like to end the show with some words of wisdom. So this is what I chose, but I would like for you to say them.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Wait, I can't let my dyslexia take it.
Okay, and I misspelled it's they, okay, the second one over here. Just let you know.
Right here? Okay.
Yeah.
Things don't need to last forever to be perfect. Enjoy the small moments. Eventually, they turn into big, everlasting memories.
Aww.
Beautiful.
That was perfect for today.
That was fun. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Fun.
I hope you guys enjoyed it.